All right, here we go. Works. So today I'm going to continue on from where we left off last time, and which is I'm trying to prepare you for complete this this assignment called Datastore, and this is a fairly complex assignment. So there's a lot to look at. I have some videos posted here that deal with filters and Ajax. I have videos posted from last year. Now these two sets of videos taken together are sufficient to solve the problem that I stated here, the Datastore problem. But these videos in particular are, they solve a similar problem and not the same problem. But they can be used. They have already been used successfully by a number of students in this class to complete the Datastore assignment. But I'm going to continue to present on another sort of sequence of development activities and to show you one way to solve this Datastore problem. And this is a link here to the video that I captured last time, and on YouTube you can see it's right there, so you can look at that link. I'll rename this later, and I'll add a second link. This will be the continuation. So basically, let's just review where we're at. There's the Datastore. We need to have what? We need to have an application in which that's aware of the admin user. So in the application, there's going to be authentication. The user logs in, and through the Google login system, and then for a particular application has one or more admin users, and they're designated through the admin console that you have access to when you deploy your applications. So some users are admin users. All other users are ordinary logged in users. So we're going to provide a text area for the admin user to type in a message or modify a message, which is presented to every user on the user's home page. The admin user is going to be able to edit this message. And the other users won't be able to read the message, but they can't modify the message. So we need some authorization policy implemented for that. All right, so where did we leave off last time? We were working here, and this is the project that we left off in. And there is this JSP file. This is where I got stuck last time, so I'm going to pick up from that point. Actually, here's some code that's a little bit more developed from the code that you see at the end of the previous lecture video. And here is this admin page. So it's going to say, I am the admin user. Let's try to run this and see what the application looks like at this point. Run that as a web application. I'm going to check the console window, make sure there's no errors. Looks good. And here is there's the URL of the locally deployed application. I'll just copy that. Go to the browser and I'll test that. And I don't know why it's saying unauthorized here. I don't get that. Oh, something happened. I don't know what, but let's take a look at that. This is imindex.jsp. And that's this file right here. And last time what we did is this file here, this index.html, we stopped using that, so I'm going to delete that. And we're just sending the user to index.jsp. This is we configured the welcome file list to return this JSP for a root request to the application. So it says I'm index.jsp, then there's a message that's coming up, as you can see, that message is unauthorized. So I don't know why that's the case.
You're not signed in.
Huh?
Not signed in as a regular user yet.
Well, let's take a look here. Look at what happens. This function here, this is the ready method for jQuery. This is the new way to do it. This jQuery $ represents the jQuery object. And that object can, in addition to having lots of methods in it, it also acts as a function. And you can call it, I'm calling it here, and I'm passing in a function. I'm calling $, passing in a function. This is how to register a callback function for what's called the document ready event. So jQuery will wait until the document has been built. The DOM, the document object model, all of the elements in the document are created in such a way that they can be accessed through JavaScript. Once that's done, jQuery will call this function that I have highlighted right here. So this is done at page initialization. What do we do? When the page is ready, when the page has been constructed to that point that I just described, then we're going to invoke this AJAX function. This is a jQuery function. You see now here we're using $ as a function. We're passing in an argument to that $ as a function. Here we're using $ as an object. And this object has a method called AJAX as a member method. We're calling this AJAX function and passing in this argument right here. As basically we want to get the admin message. So the data that AJAX needs, it is a required item here. It's URL. It needs to know where do I go to retrieve the information you want. This is the type of HTTP request message that's used. It's a post message. I think that for AJAX invocation, some developers will always use a post when it's AJAX, but it's not necessary. And the data type here, this is the data type not of the data we're sending, but this is the data type. This is the type of data that we're receiving from the server. So we're saying it's just text. And in fact, this server is sending this string unauthorized. We can hunt that down and find out why that's the case. And so when we call this AJAX function with that argument, it sends a request to this get message. And this AJAX function, it's an asynchronous activity, so it actually doesn't finish talking to the server yet. What it does is that this function returns, and it actually returns the jQuery wrapper around the HTTP XML. I forget what it's called. What's the raw AJAX function name? It's called what? HTTP request, something like that. XML request. Anyway, this returns it was in the assignment. Here's this is the previous, oh, there it is, right there. XML HTTP request object, or this is a function, so an instance of that. This is a constructor function. So browsers provide this this XML HTTP request object that you can use to send requests to servers and get data back behind the scenes without reloading the whole page. And jQuery wraps this, just like jQuery wraps everything almost, right? So you're working with the jQuery wrapper. This AJAX function returns that wrapped object right here. See what I have highlighted? When that function returns, it returns the jQuery wrapper around that XML HTTP request object. And then that wrapper has a done function. So we're going to call the done function. And it has a fail function. And done returns the wrapper as well. We can call the fail function. So we're cascading, you know, invocations on that returned object. First done and then fail. So we're registering a done handler, and this is the fail handler. So if something goes wrong, the fail handler will run. If things go okay, the done handler will run. Now, here is, I think, we're not printing an error has occurred, right? So just to see how that would work, let's suppose we put in a bunch of X's there, and I'm going to restart. This will generate an error because this URL doesn't, I think it's a 404. It doesn't exist. The resource doesn't exist. So that should trigger the invocation of this fail handler. So it should say an error has occurred, I believe. Let's take a look. There it is. Good, in red. So that means we know we're getting through here. And this is a good URL. In fact, what's being returned to us is that string. It says unauthorized. Let's take a look. Now, just to find how do we get there? Well, it's this web XML. You have to look at that. Remember, the request is going to /getMessage. So we want to find out who's handling /getMessage. These are, I put the servlet mappings together in this section. Here's /.getMessage. So this is the URL pattern. This is the name of the servlet that we're asking the web server to use to handle these requests. So getMessage servlet is defined up here. This is the name of an instance of this class. That's what this does. So it's CSE405.getMessage servlet. So that's the servlet that's running. It's that one right there, right? And what's happening? It doesn't say on the message, does it? What do you think is going on? It never gets here. It never gets here because the servlet mapping here /getMessage isn't the only mapping that's going on. Look at the filter mappings. And like /getMessage goes to the user Ajax filter. So this is done first. The filters run before the servlet. That's why the filters, that's where you do the authorization inside the filters. You say, give me the user. The user's not logged in, send them to the login page. Don't let them get into the servlet. They're logged in, okay, they're logged in. Is it an admin user? No? Send them out, say unauthorized. If it's an admin user, that sort of logic, that authorization is, it's easy to put into these filters. You can that way you can detach the authorization logic from your business logic. So here's this user Ajax filter. Now, we could just jump in and look at user Ajax filter.java, assuming that that's the class that's instantiated for this. But let's verify that. Let's not make that assumption. Let's go and look at user Ajax filter and check that, yes, indeed, that is the class. All right, so I'm going to find that user Ajax filter. That would be right here. And there's a warning here. It's an unneeded import. I'm just going to take that out. There we go. And so here's the filter method. And the request object, the response object, the chain objects. These three objects are passed in. Request objects passed in as a servlet request. We need to, and the servlet response, we need to cast that to HTTP servlet response. I've explained this before. You know, the filter is a generic filter which works with any type of request response protocol. We're using the HTTP protocol specifically so that we know that we can do this cast. And we get the user service here. So get user service. That's a static method on user service factory. We get that object. We check to see if the user's not logged in. Oh, then we say unauthorized. Oh, so we're requiring the user to be logged in. That's the problem right there. Not logged in. So we're saying we're unauthorized to read the message. I mean, I don't know, is that what we want? I don't know. It's just we're trying to learn the system. But so we're not logged in. And this is the AJAX filter. This is not, this is the AJAX request is passing through this filter. The request for the JSP is not passing through this. Request for the JSP is passing through this probably index JSP filter. We'd have to check that. We had that configured. Here's index JSP filter. That's the name of it here. And check the filter mapping. Index JSP filter, indeed, there it is. So this is what we pass through to get to index.jsp itself. And what we can do here, rather than letting the request pass through and serve index.jsp to the user, let's see if the user's logged in. If they're not logged in, let's redirect them to the login page. It looks like that's what we're trying to do here. So when this thing runs, we're going to get the user service. We're going to check if the user is not logged in. There's the the not operator there, negation operator. If the user is not logged in, then send a redirect. Why isn't this working? I don't get it. Why are we even getting through? Oh, maybe it's because I'm in the browser cache. Am I in the browser cache? Look at that. I've got my caching enabled, okay? So the fact that I can even get to this page, I think I shouldn't even get to the page. I think I should be redirected to the login page here by my filter. So because that's not happening, I suspect that the page is coming out of my cache, my browser cache. I just checked my development settings. I have not disabled the cache. It's good to disable this when you're developing. So I'm going to leave that enabled. And if I reload, I think I'm going to be redirected to the login page. That's what I think. I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me disable the cache here. So I'm still getting through. Am I getting to this? Am I even reaching here? Well, we could set a breakpoint there. But you know, I'm not running in debug mode, so I can't set a breakpoint. Let's, I'll run in debug mode and set a breakpoint there. So I'm going to terminate and remove. And rather than starting this as a regular application, I'm going to start it as a, I'm going to debug. I'm going to debug as a web application. And I'm going to see if I get into this, this filter. So I'll set a breakpoint here. So I double click there. So I'm going to pause the execution there. And this, no error messages there. It looks good. All right, so this should trigger a break in the program. I'm going to reload that. Is there a break? It didn't break. What's going on? We're not reaching there. So what's going on? How come it's not coming in there? Index JSP filter. Is it because I'm going through the cache? Let's do this. here is the get message servlet. I know that this runs, right? Oh no, that doesn't run. It says unauthorized. It says unauthorized, so that means that the this user Ajax filter, this is running. Let's see if this, let's see if I put a breakpoint there, is it going to break there? There it is, see? Now we've broken this. So I know that execution is reaching this point. I'm going to clear the breakpoint and I'm going to continue. Resume.
The order of the servlets does not matter in the WebXML file?
The order of the servlets does not matter. That's correct.
Same with the
I think it's a caching issue, but I don't know. Why don't I pass through? If I go to index.jsp directly, oh, it works. See that?
So you have your
Now I am
file
breaking.
set to
Huh?
something else.
So now I'm here. Now I'm breaking here. Now this, when I resume this, I should go to the login page. See, it was taking out of my cache. This is a major issue when you're working on web development. It's not just this context, it's all contexts. Your browser has caching settings, and sometimes you make a change, you think you're testing some logic, and you're not. You're just retrieving out of the browser cache, and you can't understand what's going on. So hopefully this little exercise has helped you kind of see that. It's safe to, just to disable cache. That's how I do it in Chrome. It's a similar setting in other browsers. So I don't want any caching going on. But apparently it was caching the root request, and even though I disabled caching, it was still coming up cached for some reason. Oh. No. Got that totally wrong. I got it totally wrong. Watch this. The problem is that WebXML file. Look, I'm only looking for this URL pattern. What about this pattern? Now, this makes me a little nervous, though. This URL pattern, I think that's going to match all kinds of stuff. Does it match this exactly, or is it going to start matching against images and things? Which maybe it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'm not going to think about that right now, but let's go ahead and restart this thing. I'm going to terminate, and I'm going to remove it also. And then I'm going to start. I'm not going to run in debug mode. I'm going to run as outside of debug. I think this fixes the problem. So I've got two URL patterns for that one filter. And that's okay. Does that look good? Yeah. Now it should send me the login page. It works. That was the issue. It wasn't browser cache. That wasn't it. Got that wrong. It was I didn't have the filter configured to run against that pattern. And so getting to the JSP through this welcome file business. So I didn't think to catch that here. All right. Anyway, we got that. That's done. And now we're not going to get unauthorized anymore. So now we're going to log in. Here it is. I'm the message. That's being, get message is going to show I'm the message now. So we're passing through the index.jsp filter, right? we're not being redirected to login anymore because we are in fact logged in. But if I try to access the admin page, that will be unauthorized because we logged in as a regular user. Now I thought I got a login, a logout URL in the last presentation. We need that logout URL for the regular user as well, I believe. So let's get that in there. I can't. It's hard to test. I want to log out as a regular user, and although I know how to do that, I can just do it manually here. _AH logout. That'll throw an exception because it needs a parameter called continue, and it's we need to go to, oh, there it is right there. It's my memory. We need to go to somewhere, so we'll just go to / here. So now we logged out. Now we're going to log in as administrator. Now we're administrator. So we should be able to pass through. Here we go. Here's the logout link in this one. So we can change the message. Well, we don't have that working yet, so we want to be able to change the global message in the system. Submit that. What is this? Unexpected token illegal. So anyway, we're still working on this. All right. So that's where we're at. And here's the get message service. We're going to need to read this from the data store. But right now we just have it hard coded. So right now get message is getting a message from that hard coding, that hard code in the servlet, not getting through to the data store. So we'll fix that now. Here's the admin JSP, where we have this text area. And what we want to do is submit the new text through JavaScript, Ajax. So we have this text area that the user is going to fill out like this. And then that text area right here has an ID, message input. And so that when the user clicks the submit button, we want to get the data from this text area and send it to the server. And the server will write that new message into the data store. How do we do that? Well, this submit button, it has an ID submit button, but there's no event handler on it. So, but here we have our initialization code. So the first thing we do is register a click handler on the submit button right there. So we call click, we call the function click. This is our jQuery wrapper around the submit button. We look it up using the CSS selector syntax. Then we call click on that, and we pass in a callback. This is the thing that runs when the click event occurs on that button. So what do we do when the click event occurs? Well, we're going to say alert, and we're going to present the value right there. And that's just for testing. And then, so we'll take this out. Right? That's just for testing. I think we tested that last time. And then we got to send the data to the server. We're going to send it in the background using Ajax. We're not refreshing the page. In the old days, you would basically send a new page request with the data in it. And so you would submit the data, and you'd have to reconstruct your page with the HTML that the server replies with. But in current times, that style is being replaced with more and more Ajax. There's no reason to refresh the entire page. We just need to submit some little piece of information to the server. And so that's done in the background. So here we're going to send the data in through this URL. SetMessage. So obviously we have that configured to go into this servlet over here. And it'll be a post request. And the data type, this is, once again, this is not the type of data that we're sending. This is the type of data that we get in reply. And I don't know why we're even bothering with that, because I think we don't even look at the response. So I'm going to take that out. We don't need that. We don't even look at anything that gets returned. So here's our done function. We're taking some object data. We don't even do anything with it. Although we could pass back an error and then check to see if if data equals the word error or something like that. So we could do it like that. Or we could send back, like a 300 or a 500. We could send back a 500 response, server-side error, and trigger this fail method here, and or the fail callback, and we could handle it there. So I'm going to leave out those little details right now. We're not going to get into that. Let's figure out how to send the data. Now, the data in this AJAX call, remember these are the arguments. Well, there's a single argument to the AJAX function, and it's an object, and the object has attributes, and this, all these attributes have default values, although I think URL may be required, and we just set those attributes that we want to specify that are different from the default. For instance, the default type is get, so where I'm putting in post there. There is no default for data, so basically it's not going to send anything. We have to tell it what to send. So we want to send, and this data takes an object, and it's going to be this. The object will be these key value pairs. So MSG, and then this is the data from the text area. Here's the message input. That's here, message input. That's the ID. That's the text area. And we go, this selects the text area right there. I think I got that wrong. This should be, I don't know why I have, that's a function call right there. Yes, we're calling the jQuery function, passing in a CSS selector that selects the text area, and the jQuery wrapper around that text area has a val function that returns the value that's inside that text area, what the user's typed in, and that's it. That's the whole thing. And this whole thing is an object. And what happens is jQuery will take this and encode it using a URL encoding scheme. Essentially, let me show you what that really kind of looks like. And for those people who have some background, this is. I just want to show you how maybe one way to think about this. Here's the. This is this data item here. So this set message. So you can think of it like this. Although we're sending it by post, but if we were to send it by GET request, it would look something like the following. It would be something like set message. Then we would have a question mark, MSG equals. And then it would be whatever the user is, typed into this message area, this text area rather. So, say, I am a message. I'll let the spaces out because I don't know how to. We'd have to encode a space. We'd have to use like something like that. Whatever the space, whatever the URL encoding is for a space, we'd have to use that there. I know it's not 32. It's something like, well, it must be 20, right? Because 32 is, must be 20, right? 32 is ASCII decimal notation for 20 in hexadecimal notation. I mean, I'm just guessing that that's what it must be. So that's how that works. And you can, if you look at the jQuery website, I don't know if you want to look at this in some, you got to spend time with the caps lock on there. Absolutely have to spend time with this. You got to go to the jQuery website and read about this. Here's the Ajax. As you can see, I've done my time. I spent time reading through this. I know how to jump around it now. Here it is, jQuery.ajax. This is a very important page in the documentation. This is a required attribute. So this is the form that we're using right here. This is the data type. Remember, I took that out. I said this is the type of data you're expecting back from the server. We're not getting anything from the server, right? So we're not even worried about it. So I took that out. The default is intelligent guess. I don't want to get into that. But what about the data type going to the server? Look at the data type coming from the server. It could be, well, it could be JSON. Are you sending me JSON? Are you sending me XML? Are you sending me HTML? And that's not exhaustive because look in here, they show text as well. Are you sending me text? But what about, so that's the server talking back to us, returning a response. That's this data type. What about us talking to the server? How are we going to send the data to the server? We're sending it with a post. The data is going to be in the body of an HTTP request message. What's it going to look like? Is it going to be JSON? Is it going to be XML? I'll tell you what it's going to be. I got to find it first. Hold on. Here's this type. See, the default is get. That's why I specified post. Okay. Can't remember the name of that attribute, but it's in here.
It's just data, right?
It's data is the data. It's not the type of data. Oh, there it is. Content type. Content type. When sending data to the server, use this content type. The default is, that's why I can never remember it, application/x-www-form.url encoded. I mean, really, it's just, you can just remember this part. URL encoded. It's encoded to be safe as data inside a URL. Like you can't just put a space inside, the URL. That's why I showed you, I used %20, right, instead of a space, because the URL can't handle that space. It's a delimiter. So we need to escape the space. That's called URL encoding. So this is, in fact, the default. Now, when you, in the old days, well, in the current days too, if you submit a form that this is the default encoding, your browser is going to take the data from the form. It's going to have these named elements, the name attribute, and pair them off with the values for each of the element, and it'll be sent in this URL encoded encoding when the data is sent to the server. So anyway, that's what's going on there. So this is, that's that. So we could have many of these values. We just have one. So we would have, if we wanted something else, then we put a comma here, and we would have something else, like X, for instance. We could send, and Y, we could send all kinds of values. And this quote, these apostrophes are optional, actually, at this point. In some cases, they're not optional. If MSG was defined as a variable, there'd be a conflict. Actually, maybe they're not optional. I can't remember. Just to be safe, I'll put them in there right now. Now, let's see if this bit of code here, you want to see if we're actually getting the data to the server. We're not going to make the application work. We're just going to see if the server is getting the data. That's it. Okay.
You got an extra bracket in there.
I get an extra bracket. Let's see that.
For wondering when you're good.
I'm all right. Right. That bracket matches with this one up there. Right. That's that whole thing there. So, but before we, one more step. If things succeed, the done method's going to run. So we're going to, on the result object, we're going to insert an OK. There is the result object, the result div right there. So we're going to insert OK. We're going to see OK. But if it's a fail, we're going to see an error has occurred. You know what? Let's test the fail. Remember that? We tried it before. Just put a couple X's there. Let's just see if we're going to, just to see if that part, that's the easy part to get right. Okay. Let's go ahead and fail that. So once again, we're going to, I better check for error messages there. It looks good. Now, and I'm going to reload. And if I hit submit, and what's going on here? I should look at this.
Yeah, like an extra little greater than in there somewhere.
All right, before we do anything else, we have to fix this. No testing is valid until we get this fixed. Unexpected token, illegal. What is going on there? Oh, look, there's an apostrophe there and a quote there. You can get paid money for noticing those things. That's what you're learning how to do in here. All right, so where is that? Oh, there it is. Now, my rule is use apostrophes in JavaScript. That's not my rule. The Google style guide for HTML. Use apostrophes for JavaScript and use quotes for HTML element attributes. Okay. Let's save that. I don't see any error message there. Let's go back. There's no reason to test if we see errors in the console there. Okay. That's clean. So once again, we're going to hit submit. What do we expect to see? We should fail. Yeah, exactly. Because once again, this is a bad URL that should trigger, you know, this fail callback. It's going to say an error has occurred. We're going to put it inside that div up there. Let's check it. There it is. Okay, good. So one little piece at a time. You know, we can't get the whole thing built in one breath. We got to do it a piece at a time. Now, let's do the harder part. Let's get that thing passed to the servlet itself. And so that's a good one now. So that means this OK, we want this OK to run. And let's take a look at SetMessage. Let's check that, see if we have it configured first of all.
Yeah, we can say, you do SetMessage?
Maybe I may have done it and not recorded it. Where is that? No, we don't have SetMessage. We got to add that. We didn't get that. So I'm going to make a copy of getMessage and just set that to SetMessage. And this is the filter. We're in the filter. This should be the, This should be the admin Ajax filter. We don't want anyone to be able to call SetMessage. We want only admin to set the message. And we need to define this, by the way, this admin Ajax filter. You know what? Let's wait on this. I'm going to do this. Let's wait on this because it interrupts our flow there. And we're going to do this. Sorry, that's get message, isn't it? Let's take this out for now. We're going to let all requests through. Okay, we're going to add that in a minute. Let's wait on that. Here's the servlet mappings. Do we have SetMessage? We do not. We have getMessage. Let's add SetMessage. And there's SetMessage. SetMessage. And let's come up to the servlets. This is the getMessage servlet. Now we need a SetMessage servlet. And save those. And this is the getMessage servlet. Oh, we have SetMessage servlet already started. We don't have anything in it, so we're not doing anything. Let's do something. Let's print to the logging system. I don't know if I covered this yet. How do you print to the logging system? Well, there's a, I'm going to guess here, logger. And how do I do the, what's it called? Organize imports. That's it. Quick fix. Logger. Oh. Here we go. Logger dot get logger. And they're going to pass in name of the logger. I'm going to call it CSE322. And maybe I'll just call it app. I'm the app. It's the app logger. I'm going to keep it simple. I must have already had that in there. Oh, look, see, I had this in there already. Java.util.logging.logger. That's how I had that in there. So if you want to use that. There's configuration for that. It's down here. These are the logging properties. Level set at warning. So if we want to see anything at all, we need to just send it as a warning. But I ran. Let's just see if that shows up in the log file. That'll go to the console. That's specified in here. Well, it's not specified in here, but I think that's the default. You can work on configuring things. You could actually send the logging to a file and things like that. So I don't want to get into that now, but this will show up in the console window, I hope. So we're gonna, when we send the message in, it'll say, I ran here in this console window. I'm going to clear the console window so we can see it. This should say I ran once this servlet runs. And so back to admin. This calls SetMessage. So we're going to see I ran. What's that? What happened? I didn't refresh the page, that's why. Let me refresh the page. Oh, and I'll clear the console window. All right, now let's try it. It says okay. on the server side, it says Iran. Oh, okay, so we're that far. Now, one baby step at a time here. Let's do more than printing Iran. Let's print the data that got sent to us. Let's print that data. How do we get the data? It's going to be, it's our message, right? It's our message, and that's coming through as a request parameter. Request dot get parameter. The name of the parameter is MSG. And then we're going to print that MSG. Why is the parameter MSG? Because that's what we call it right there. So that's the parameter name, colon, parameter value. So when we do when we do get parameter MSG, it's going to return us the value associated with MSG, which is going to be whatever we type in. Okay. So let's see if that works. Everything looks saved. I'm going to terminate and relaunch. Just for clarity, I'm going to clear the console window so we can see that more easily. And let me reload that. And this is a test 1, 2, 3. Let's see if that gets through. Should show up right there. There it is. This is a test 1, 2, 3. So we know it's getting through. That's good. All right. Now we don't need this business anymore. And maybe we'll say, I don't know, okay or something like that, right? I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not going to send any response. Although later we might want to change that and send, okay, or send an error message. We can always communicate error states through, like 500 code, but we're not going to do that now. And I'll reorganize imports to get rid of that logging statement. Now what we want to do is store the message in the data store. Oh, before we forget, we better secure this, because right now the ordinary users can submit messages. So we need to get the filter on that. And let's take care of that. You know what? I'm going to leave that as an exercise. Okay. I don't need to do everything. You know how to do that. I'm going to let you do that. So let's dig into the harder part at this point, which is how to access the data store. And I think I had some. Did I have anything on that in the lesson here? I'm sorry, the assignment. Data store, there it is. Using the data store. So this was a tutorial that we went through at the very beginning of the class. Well, you went through it. And you can get some idea about what to do in here. This is where we need to get, this is the user service. Somewhere in here we're going to get the data store. There it is right there. So this lets us get the data store. This is where we put an entity. So I'm going to grab this whole thing here. And this is this business there. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to reformat that. source format. There we go. So this entity here, let me. I like to right-click it and get the import for it, but that's hard. For some reason, that's not given as an option. Maybe I'll just do it there. So you have two choices here, right? So you got to be careful when you're picking it. Just don't pick randomly. This, and I'm not going to get into the explanation. This looks like the one we need. This one here is something else. And I can't explain it, so I'm going to skip over that. And then this entity, this is, see, what am I doing here? The entity needs to be, here, I'm using the name entity. That's a class, we need the import for it. So look, all of these classes are entity classes, but they're in different packages. So we need to pick the right package. Well, I know it's not this, I know it's not the, these are unrelated entities. It's the entity is this, the App Engine Datastore. Once again, this is also related to the App Engine Datastore, but this is for providing, I think, infrastructure for developers to use, like writing a library, something like that. So it's going to go with this one. That ended up adding those imports for us up here, right? Those are good. So we get the message, and we're going to create an entity to store this message. I'm going to call it the admin message entity. And entities, you can think of, when you think of the Google data store, this is how I think of it. The model I use, the mental model, is that it's a big graph and disconnected graph, so the separate pieces, not necessarily connected. And they have these nodes, which are entities. And nodes have types. So we're going to call this the admin message type. It's going to be a singleton entity. There's not, this type is only going to be one instance of this entity type in the system. And this here is the key. So we're going to need to construct that in a second. So I'm just going to do this. And then the entities are, they're like maps. And you can attach any kind of data you like to an entity. They're attributes. They're containers of attributes, attribute containers. And so this is the admin message. And we set a property by calling setProperty. This is the name of the property. That's going to be, the message itself. I'll call it text. And this is where we pass in that MSG. That's the message. We only have one property, so that's enough right there. Then we get the data store. We use this data store service factory class, call that static method, get data store service. It returns this an instance of the data store service. We call that data store here. Now we use that as an interface to create, delete, modify entities. So here we're going to push in our admin entity into the data store. And I believe that, if this entity already exists, it'll be updated. If it doesn't exist, it'll be overwritten. Now the thing about key, the key is how you find the entity in the data store. Well, there's only going to be one of these, so it doesn't really kind of matter, but I think we're going to need to construct a key for this. I haven't thought, let's just go ahead and do it this way, and then we might change it later. So we create an entity here. This is the key, and you'll see here we're creating the key right there. Yeah, before we do this, let's look up entity in the Java docs and see what it says about this constructor, because it may give us an idea about how to make this simpler. Because once again, we're only going to create one instance of admin entity type. Maybe we can get away without a key. Maybe a key would be a simple key with the user supplied ID, something like that. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. That's going to be, that's the, oh, wait a minute. I think I have this in the, I have a link to it in the course. The storing data section of the Java GAE documentation. Still, it's not the, I mean, here they talk about entities. I want to go into the Java docs directly. And let's look up entity. Let's just take a look at the constructor. There's one that takes a plain key. There's one that takes a kind by itself, has no parent. Oh, that would be the parent entity. I think we can do that. And here, create a new entity with a specified kind and ID and no parent entity. I think I like this one. There's no, so an entity is this container of attributes. Can have a parent entity, or it could be on its own, top-level entity with no parent. What's the purpose of having a parent entity? It's a way to find the entity. You got to go through the parent to get to the entity. All right, so it's a way of organizing your entities so you can find them. If you have an entity without a parent, then obviously you're going to find it in some way without specifying a parent. So let's use this form here. So this is the ID. We're just going to give it an ID of 1. We're going to hard code that in there. The kind is going to be admin message. Look at that. Just paste it right in there. There's only one of them. So this is going to write that entity in a data store. All right, now what are we going to do? That's it. I want to show you something in the console window that we've been ignoring. We've been grabbing this URL. This is the, the URL to the running app, but actually provides another URL if you look in here. The admin console, see, the admin console is running at, now this is the local admin console. This gives you a way to kind of interact with the data store in your local Google App Engine simulated environment, right? When you deploy into the Google App Engine cloud, then you're going to get access to this admin console with more functionality through a Google web application, through your browser. Let's take a look. I want to show this to you. We started the application, and just going to show you that. It's the admin console. Look, the data store viewer. So you can use this to look at the data in your data store. And look, there's nothing in there right now. But we're going to put something in there. I'm going to clear this. We're going to put in an entity of type admin message with ID 1 and whatever message the application sends to us. And let's see if it shows up here in the data store viewer. So I'm going to reload this just to avoid what happened last time. I'm just going to put testing in there, testing. Let's submit it. It says OK. Let's reload. There's an admin message. Let's list the entities. There's one entity. Like it's hard to see this. There it is. It has an attribute called text, and it's testing. So it got in there. I'm going to go back to here. And then look at what we did here. On our entity, we called set, what was it? Set property. I don't see it here. Well, set property is, now see, entity extends property container. So we're going to have to look into the parent to find the set property. And there it is right there. Got to learn how to navigate the Java docs. So now we're in the parent class of entity. Our entity instance is inheriting the setProperty method from this parent class. What's the name of the parent class? It's called property container. See? Direct known subclasses, entity is one of them. SetProperty, here it is. So we pass in the property name, and we pass in the value. And what about the property type? I can't remember about this. Sets the property name to value. The value is stored in the database in the data store. It's converted to the data store's native type. Maybe this is not an issue. So we can put, see this text. This text here, we want to, if you look at the string, there's two related types. One is string type, the other is text type. A string type, you can index on it. You can look things up by the value of a string on a property, but it's limited in size. If you want a large amount of character data assigned to a property, you need to use the text data type. And this is what you would use for that. And see if they have any, they don't have any examples. I'll talk about that a little later, maybe. Anyway, we got this into the data store. Now let's get it out of the data store. And so this get message servlet, we're going to need some similar codes. I'm just going to copy this and go into get message servlet. Here, this hard-coded string on the message. Now we want to go into the data store, pull out the admin message. Oh, that wasn't very useful. Oh, here it is. This is the data store service right here. I like to keep that on the top. And well, it doesn't matter. So we get an instance of the data store here. And then what do? We need to get out of the data store. So it's going to look something like this, right? Some sort of maybe a get message or a find message. So we want to do something like this. We want to, from the data store, remember what's in the data store? Entities. So we want to like get an entity. Oh, look, get by key. Look at that. This is our entity key. Let's suppose we were to create some kind of a key. Set it to null. And they're going to organize imports. That's the one we want right there. And so we're going to construct a key. That's a way to find the entity, the admin message, and then we use that key with this get command to pull it out. Of course, that's going to return an entity. And then from that entity, we're going to pull out the message. It's going to be get. Like I'm using Eclipse here to show me a list of choices. It's going to be get property right there with the property name. The property name, remember, was text, not test, text. Now we're getting an error there because get property returns an object. And in fact, we have to know in advance what type it is. It's a string, so I'm going to cast it to a string. What does that throw an exception? Let's see. Unhandled exception. Entity not found exception. So if the entity is not found, then it's an issue. Right. Let's suppose the entity is not found. The admin message has not been created yet. So maybe what we'll do in that case is maybe we'll write a message into the data store at that time. Maybe that's what we'll do. If it's not there yet, what we can do is yeah, let's not worry about it right now. Let's assume that we have the message. We'll do that in a second. So, is that throw an exception? Oh, I see. This, we need to set that to null. And so let's get the message. I'm going to put this up in here. So if we do this and without throwing an exception, that means we can pull out the entity here. In fact, there's no reason to make that separately defined. I'll just put it right inside here. And so now we have the message. And we can return the message to the return the message to the browser. Right there. So we need to have that defined first. So this is just make it empty like that. So the message is empty. Actually, let's do it like this. It'll be set me. So if we throw the exception and we do nothing, we're going to return set me. Let's try that now. And we're ready to test. Actually, it's already in there, right? We've got one in there. So we just go to the root page. We should see the message. Oh, internal server error, get message. Should have saw this coming. Null pointer exception. And this is not code that I have any control over, right? So I'm going to come down to here and say, oh, when do post calls get, that results in a null pointer exception. That's line 27 in this get message servlet. Right there. Oh, key. We didn't set the key, of course. All right. So we need to set this key. I don't think I can set it directly. No, that's not going to work. Something like... You can create key objects directly by using key factory create key. Key factory create key. String, comma, long. That's what I want. Is key factory dot create key. Let's go back to here. Well, it brings us right into the documentation there. So that's key factory create key. And I think it takes the type, the kind rather. You can see it right there. It takes the kind and then the ID. We know the kind is admin message. I'm sure it's case sensitive. And the ID is 1. And let's go ahead and start that up. And
Why is the ID 1?
That's what we did. We made it 1. Yeah. There's only one of them. There's only one admin message. You have 5 minutes to finish this. And I lost my my debug window down there, so I got to bring it back. You know what? I'll do it like this. Show view, console. What's going on? I can't. Oh, that's crazy. I don't see anything. Let me try this. Window, reset perspective. There we go. Get rid of this, get rid of that. And console window is not there. Am I running the server? Let's show view, and I think it's that debug window right there. This is very useful when you're using Google App Engine plugin. I'm going to terminate and relaunch. We could open the console window for us. I'm going to clear that so we don't get confused. Go back to here. Let's reload. There it is, testing. Remember, that's what we have in the data store is testing. Here, I think we can directly edit that. Let me see if I can. Can I edit that?
No.
No.
Tried it. It doesn't let you.
Doesn't let you do it.
No. So the best thing is for you to delete it, and then you can redo it.
Let's try deleting. That's a good idea.
And then you can try to do the plugin testing again.
Yeah, so let's take a prediction here. What's going to happen? Well, we're going to get this, right? And we'll find it. So that means it'll say set me. That's what I think. And I'm right 50% of the time. Okay. Set me. So we go to admin. And You're set. It says okay. You're set. There it is. Come back to here. We can check that. Reload. List entities there. Well, I didn't need to do that, but there it is. You're set. So that's it. We got it working. We don't have the protection on that set message. What do you call it? The set message is not properly protected. That has, you need to add an admin AJAX filter and only allow admin to pass through and access a set message.